All right now.
Patrick Mahomes is basically God playing quarterback.
Chiefs Kingdom
Live!
They want it. They want it.
And when it's grim, be the Grim Reaper. We'll go get it.
That's a different tier right there, baby.
Yeah, we're not having a snowball fight.
Three. No one's ever got three. I want back-to-back to back.
The Lombardi Trophy has a red and gold reflection. Touchdown! Kansas City! One of the greatest duos in the history of the National Football League. Patrick Mahomes to Travis Kelce.
Let's go!
Do it live! You gotta fight for your right to fight!
It'll get handled when it gets handled.
Make the kick. Because if the Ravens is gonna be 0-2, make the kick. Make the kick. Make the kick, son. Because if the Ravens are gonna be 0-2, the Bengals are gonna be 0-2 as well. Patrick Mahomes, I appreciate you. Patrick Mahomes, Pacheco, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, all that. I know I'm a Raven, but I appreciate Taylor Swift. I love you, baby. You know that. The fuck out of here. Hurry up. Get your whole ass off the field. Get your Eminem ass hair. I hate them. Ooh, I hate them. All they do, they act like they the Chiefs, but they not. They not. We have to hear it every single year. We can beat Mahomes. At least we can beat Mahomes. You know, a couple years ago, 3 years ago, we beat Mahomes. We beat Mahomes. We can beat the Chiefs. We beat Mahomes. We beat the Chiefs. We beat the Mahomes. You lost today. The fuck out of here. Keep the ball, Harrison. Hurry up. Keep the ball. Never a doubt. I love it. I love every single second of it. If we gonna be 0-2, y'all whole asses is gonna be right at the bottom with us. Right on this couch, the 0-2 club. We got snacks down here, bruh. Twinkies, pretzels, chips, Taco Bell, McDonald's, everything. Snack up, your whole ass. And I'm gonna see your ass soon. And I'm gonna see you too, boy. I ain't forgot. I know we ain't talking about shit right now, but we gonna get that revenge. Patrick Mahomes. I appreciate him. I don't care. Get mad at me all you want to as a Ravens fan. Pacheco was awesome today. I don't care. Get mad at me all you want to. Call me whatever you want to. I appreciate. Look at this crybaby bitch ass right. Oh my God. The biggest crybaby on earth. The biggest. Baby girl, I love you. You know that. And fuck anybody who got anything to say about you too. You know that. The fuck out of here. The Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead against the Bengals with a W. But we on y'all asses next time. We said, get up. Get up and go to the damn locker room. You lost. The fuck out of here. Welcome to the bottom, ho.
The internet is undefeated. Let's go. Scott, you are muted, sir.
See, I didn't realize you muted my mic. Thanks a lot, Bo. Welcome to Chiefs Kingdom Live. It's Wednesday. It's 8 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining us. If you would, real quick, if you don't mind, click or tap that like, click or tap that subscribe. Tell some friends, tell some family, tell some Chiefs fans. Help spread the word. We'd appreciate it. We're got a good show tonight. Another thriller against the Cincinnati Bengals, back-to-back heart attack games, I guess you could call them, to start the season. But 2 wins. Got a game in prime time coming up against kind of strange Atlanta Falcons team. Are they good? Are they not that good? We're going to talk about that. Perhaps the strangest twist so far of the early season has been the return of Kareem Hunt getting re-signed by the Chiefs. I don't know anybody saw that coming in the offseason, but lots of good stuff to talk about.
Are good, man.
They are. They're good. They're good. They keep coming up with better material every year. So before we get into the show tonight, how's everybody doing? Nick, you doing good?
I'm doing great, man. I have thoroughly enjoyed watching Bengals fans meltdown on the internet this week. I love how we won. I love exactly how we won that game, and it's just been a real treat. So keep it up, Bengals fans. Like you're just comedy for us.
Right. Bo, how are you feeling tonight? You doing good, man?
Doing great, man. I'm with Nick. It's been just a great week so far watching Bengals fans completely erupt and cry on the internet. It's just soaking up those tears. I might have to get a Bengals tears hydration canister here.
Yeah.
But no, doing great, man. How you doing?
You're going to need a bigger jar than that for Bengals tears.
Big old 5-gallon bucket.
Right. Yeah, I'm doing good. The only thing I think I enjoyed more than the Bengals crying online was that video that we put there at the intro from TikTok of the Ravens fan cheering on the Chiefs. He don't care. He hates the Bengals more than he hates the Chiefs. What's that meme where it's like from Predator where it's got Arnold and Carl Weathers where they got like their fists together, like unsuspected allies, the Chiefs and the Ravens and their hatred for the Cincinnati Bengals. Watch that video. I was picturing
They brought it upon themselves, man. They were
did.
so loud before that game. It was very justified to watch them lose in that fashion.
Right. One of my favorite parts of that video is where the guys said they think they're the Chiefs, but they're not. They're not the Chiefs. They think they are. They beat them a couple times 3 years ago. 3 years ago, we beat the Chiefs. We beat Mahomes. Like, you lost.
Get down here. We got snacks. We got peanuts, McDonald's. Get down here.
Oh, man, that video was classic. Good work on the intro there, Bo. I like that.
Yeah, it's nice.
Mix up.
Let's just get into this Cincinnati Bengals game at Arrowhead, Week 2. Chiefs prevail 26-25. 1 point thriller. It looked dire there in moments at the end. The referees got involved against both teams, really. We'll get into all that drama here in a minute. But, Bo, overall thoughts and how you felt watching that game on Sunday?
How I felt? Oh, dude, I don't know if you saw in the intro. We had a graph of the 13-second game in there, and it's the win probability, how it just went up and down, up and down. Pretty sure that was like an equivalent graph of my blood pressure for that game, dude.
Right.
Just up and down, just so frustrating. Such a classic. Why are we letting them in this game, fellas? Tripping over our own feet, fumbling the ball 2 times, turning it over 3 times. Just a frustrating game to watch when you know the potential that these guys have, right? And I think we're all just waiting for them to bust out with the weapons that they got. But, overall, it was great. Super impressed with the defense. Really loved what I saw there. A big question from us was, what were they going to fall off this year a little bit? Seems like they have not, man. They're right where they were last year, picking right up. They, held Jamar Chase to minimal yards. We'll get into that a little bit, but really impressed with the defense. Liked what I saw on all 3 levels there, but not the greatest game on offense, but we still pulled off the W, so I guess a win is a win, right?
Yeah. Nick, overall thoughts? How'd you feel watching that game?
Yeah, it's kind of like my golf game, right? There's a lot of ugliness, but there's always 1 or 2 good shots that are enough to give me hope for the next outing, right? And I think that was kind of how the Chiefs played. They had some execution errors, and there are a couple of picks and Carson Steele. Hopefully that's just a welcome to the league type moment where we got the ball knocked out there. But overall, we walk away with a win. We're 2-0. The Bengals and the Ravens are both 0-2, so we're effectively 3 games up on both of those teams in the AFC. If you said we were going to walk out of those 2 games 2-0 and be up on both of them in the AFC, I would have said that that's a successful start to the season. So I'm feeling pretty good overall.
Yeah, the Chiefs come out smelling like a rose after weeks 1 and 2. Nick, you just mentioned not only are they 2-0, but both of those teams also lost the other games that they didn't play us. So you have as much distance over 2 of the top competitors in the AFC, or at least the perceived competitors in the AFC.
Right.
Going into the year. The Ravens, it was a close game with the toe out of bounds, and the Chiefs unable to kind of seal the deal and put them away in that game. The Bengals was an interesting matchup. We did the poll last week who we thought the tougher game would be against, the Ravens or the Bengals. Overwhelmingly, everybody had the Ravens. Bengals game proved to be the tougher game, right, against those 2 teams. For whatever reason, the Chiefs and the Bengals could go out and lose well, they did. They went out and lost to the Patriots.
Right.
Ugly loss at home the week before. And then they come to Arrowhead Stadium and are basically 4th and 16 or whatever it was away from getting the win against the Chiefs again. But turned out to be the tougher game. I was not that worried during the game. It was close. We were turning the ball over, and I'm thinking, well, it's Patrick Mahomes and it's the Chiefs, and they always win these games. And I got a little concerned there at the end when the Chiefs had to punt, right? And you're thinking, man, do they have enough time to get a stop here? Because they really hadn't gotten a lot of stops. We'll talk about what we thought about the defense here in particular in a second. But really, when we had the 41-yard pass play on 4th and 6th, I was feeling good. Then I saw the flag, and it came back, and there was a little bit of doubt crept into my mind, not going to lie.
4th and 16 is a big number to look at.
But,
right?
yeah, I was thinking, man, you just had the Mahomes magic on 4th and 6 right there, right? And now can he do it twice in a row? Get balled up by the call. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Bo, you talked about the offense kind of struggling. It was the turnovers, right? I mean, they were moving the ball and they were getting yards.
Sure. And we're a running team now, apparently, or we were, but man, they were really going with that run, huh?
Yeah, they're moving the ball well on the ground. You saw the deep pass touchdown to Rashee Rice, just an unbelievable pass and throw and catch, right, for the touchdown there. Nick,
absolute dart.
Chiefs offense didn't look as sharp as they did against the Ravens and moving the ball. Obviously, the turnovers on, 3 drives there in the second and third quarters hurt them. But what did you see out of the offense overall? And maybe what kind of grade would you give them, or how are you feeling about the offense after week 2?
Yeah, I mean, look, I would have to give the offense, C-, right, for that performance. You have the 3 turnovers, really 3 interceptions thrown. One was overturned by a penalty. Happens to all the quarterbacks out there. But I think that it's just there was a lack of passing game going on. It was 150-ish yards for Patrick Mahomes. It's the lowest in his career when he's played an entire game. Travis Kelce, 1 catch that broke his NFL record streak of games with 3+ catches. I think he was at 114 games where he had caught 3 passes. And so I just think that, we're struggling there. For whatever reason, the Bengals D coordinator, he really understands how to attack the Chiefs offense, and it shows when they play. They get the Chiefs out of sorts somehow. I think that you saw where, they were really planning on having Brown on this team. And I think that was a gap there. Rashee Rice, he had that. Not only did he have that long touchdown play, but he caught the 4th and 6 conversion, right? That put us into field goal range. It was overturned. And then he got position on the defensive back on 4th and 16. I think he would have caught the ball if he wasn't interfered with, but he got position to the point where the defensive back, interfered with him, and it essentially put us in position where Harrison Butker could win the game. So, they were just good enough. I think that if you were to talk to all of the offensive players after the game, they would tell you that they were not happy with their performance. So the good news is that you go up against a premium team that knows you well and has a history of performing well against you. You do all of those things and you still win the game. So I think that there's a lot to be positive about, and it's just really, I would like to see if we could maybe utilize Carson Steele a little bit more down at the goal line, right? I think goal line offense where, we just weren't able to punch the ball in there was also a big differentiator. So
Scott, what grade would you give them, considering that drive Nick just talked about where we was in the red zone inside the 10-yard line? We tried 3 times to punch it in, nothing. And even the coaches were like, all right, field goal, right? So I mean, do you what grade would you give the offense? Do you think they were stalling out? Do you think they nothing to really worry about there, or do you agree with Nick, kind of like in the C range?
Um, it's hard to say because you can't just sit there and say, well, if you take away the 3 turnovers they play, you have to count the turnovers, right?
Yeah.
One of them was a bad read by Patrick Mahomes, didn't miss the linebacker or misjudged the linebacker on the interception to Travis Kelce. He was taking a shot with Worthy, and the guy made an acrobatic, insane one-handed interception on that play. But that's a mismatch. He wasn't open. Xavier Worthy is not the biggest guy, right? So throwing 50-50 balls to him up against a bigger cornerback and defender, probably not the smartest decision, but I can cut him a little bit of slack on that interception. Sometimes you just got to tip your hat to the other team and the other player for making a spectacular badass play.
Especially on that play, too.
Carson Steele fumble. But outside of the turnovers, the Chiefs offense moved the ball. They ran the ball probably better than we had seen this team run the ball in quite a while. I know, Nick, you said they got stymied down there at the goal line. Unfortunately, the injury to Pacheco, we'll talk about that more here in a little bit. But I think they're going to be forced into having Carson Steele down by the goal line, right?
Yeah.
But the Chiefs, they were moving the ball, and I know Patrick only had 150 yards passing, but I want to say he had 60 or 70 yards taken away on penalties. He had a couple of nice long pass plays that were called back. He also had a nice play to Rashee Rice there in the first half on a pass interference call that wasn't called, that was, I felt, more egregious than the pass interference that they did call at the end of the game, right? The guy was on his back a good the ball is at least probably 2 yards away from getting to him, and the guy's already on his back riding him to the ground. So, I mean, I guess you got to give him a C because of the turnovers, but I don't expect Patrick Mahomes to throw 2 interceptions every game moving forward, right?
Yeah, that's super
if they didn't have 1 or 2 of those turnovers, I think you're seeing a much different story out of the Chiefs. So yeah,
probably every time we play the Bengals, though, man, it's just like turnovers seem to be our.
Travis had a turnover in that one game, right, where the Chiefs were moving down and pretty much had the game won. Mistakes,
CEH, right?
But it wasn't like the Chiefs were in a punt fest and struggling to move the ball. It was just the turnovers, man, were just the killers on those drives. The one turnover, the Chiefs, I want to say they tied the game up, and then the defense got a 3-and-out, and the Chiefs get the ball back, and you're looking at it, you're thinking, okay, if you get the ball here, you could go down, score some points here, and then halftime's right around the corner, get back-to-back possessions. Maybe you can get a score coming out of the half, and you've got all the momentum, and the turnover just killed that. So turnovers were ugly. Got to
interception to Kelce, though. You really think that's a misread, or you think he was just trying to hook his boy up, dude? Because Travis Kelce's had a bit of a quiet 2 games already, right? Got a huge play called back right there, right? So I think he was trying to hook Travis up. Because if you look at that play, everybody's open except Travis, right? And I don't think Patrick Mahomes is like, yeah, right? I think he's just like, we're getting you one here, right here, no matter what. And they just. That's what happens when you triple team TMFK every play, right?
Right.
That's what's going to happen.
Well, throwing into double or triple coverage when you got lots of guys open is probably a misread. Maybe it's not misreading the linebacker, but I mean, that was definitely the worst of the 2 interceptions. The other one was an acrobatic, kind of freakish. The guy not only one-handed it, like he turned around and like the ball was right on him as he turned around in the air, just kind of stuck his hand up and it stuck to his hand. So I'm going to cut him a little bit of slack there, but I think if you just don't have one of those fumbles and you don't have one of those interceptions, the offense and Patrick Mahomes' day looks a lot better. Bo, I mean, what are you giving the Chiefs? What do you think of the offense?
Yeah, I'm right there. I agree with both of you guys. Like, I'm like C+, B- range. I don't think it was one of Patrick Mahomes' best games, but at the same time, it was just like, I'm going to blame that a lot on the play calling, dude. How many times have we run the ball? And I'm not sure. I mean, it worked, but I mean, to what degree, right? Because we saw what happens when you run somebody that hard, or somebody like Pacheco who runs that hard. You run him that many times, what can happen, right? I mean, the way he got hurt was fluke, but I mean, that's just kind of the nature of that position. It's not if, but more when somebody's gonna get hurt when they run that hard and that many times. I was really surprised with how like I said, how many times we decided to keep the ball on the ground and not give it to number 15 and let him go aerial with it. But like you said, we ran it better than we had in years, and I wasn't shying away from it. It was just an interesting strategy. Maybe they saw something in tape, right? We're like, this is going to work, but it didn't really seem like they were really going out with the aerial threat too often until you see that long dart to Rashee Rice, which just was absolute perfection, right? But
Yeah, it was beautiful.
yeah, I mean, it's fascinating because I use this analogy a lot, but it's true. I feel like a Ferrari owner complaining about my Ferrari right now. Like, we still got the win, right? And like, as many problems as we might have saw, I'm still driving a Ferrari right now, baby. We're going to town. Like, it's awesome. I mean, it is what it is. It's still early in the season. You're going to get lots of mistakes. I'm not holding anybody too accountable, especially Carson Steele, the rookie, with his fumble. Hats off to Andy Reid. I mean, it is kind of quintessential Andy Reid to put somebody in there that just did that like right away and give him the ball in a clutch situation to, get over his nerves of shaking one off from losing one before. So hats off to him for putting Steele immediately back in. And I think he made up for it, crushed it, really gained some confidence. And I think we'll see that going into the next game. But yeah, C plus, B minus, right at an 80, 79 right there.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the thing that concerned me the most about the offense wasn't their ability to run or pass or necessarily the scheme or their ability to get yards. It was the offensive line, again, was not protecting Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, that's true.
This team is spending way too much money on the offensive line to have Patrick under duress that much. And I understand a lot of it was the left tackle. The rookie he was just getting smoked by Hendrickson, right, on that left side. But, I mean, when you're paying Juwan Taylor $20 million a year on right tackle, when you're now paying Creed Humphrey $18 million a year or whatever it is at center, Joe Tooney is a guy you brought in a couple of years ago at a big money deal. Patrick Mahomes got to have more time, and you got to figure out a way to get more protection and get better production out of that unit with the amount of money you're spending there. Juwan Taylor with the penalties that he's getting, especially $20 million a year for him. Maybe some of that money could have gone to keep L'Jarius Sneed in the secondary. I don't know, man. They've got to get that short up. They've got to get Patrick Mahomes more time. I mean, you guys disagree with that? I mean, have you seen protection being a problem so far for the Chiefs line?
I mean, 100%. We definitely saw that this last game, right? It seemed like the rookie left tackle, Kingsley Sumatia, had no answer for whoever was lined up across him. It was mostly, what's his name? Hendrickson. Yeah, I was getting confused with Hawkinson, but Hendrickson. There's no answer for him. He was getting beat inside, outside, right up the middle. It was fascinating to watch. And then all they had to do was just put in Morris, and hey, kind of stop that right away, right? So, it was a glaring thing, and they hit it hard too, man. They really exploited that glaring mistake in our line right there, having that rookie there.
Yeah. Nick, I mean, or how much of it is a concern with you? Left tackle line overall? I mean, is it something that's fixable at this point? They got Wanya Morris, the backup left tackle, but Kingsley was the clear starter all of training camp. Is Morris worse than him? If so, can you even go to the backup?
Well, look, we have the players that we have. You're not going to find a quality starter level left tackle, going into week 3, unless you're willing to give up the farm to one of these teams that knows they have no hope and they happen to have somebody. And I don't think there's any prospects there, and we really don't have the money to take on a contract of a player of that caliber, right? So we've got to do deal with the players that we have. One of the things that I didn't really see was, getting Kingsley help in those situations where you could have, like a running back go and give him a chip and, just try to help out in that situation. It seemed like he was still kind of on an island out there, just getting beat badly. They brought in Wanya Morris, who, he's a good player. He had a touchdown, so that was super cool. But I mean, he was the one that got called for hands to the face on the 4th and 6 too, right? So I think part of this is, we've got a young player in that position. Even Wanya Morris he's not a veteran, right, by any stretch of the imagination. and they were going up against somebody that was really good, right? And that, it pass rush, but we're going to go up against a lot of folks that are good at pass rush, right? Do you think like going up against Mason Crosby is going to be any easier than going up against Hendrickson with the Bengals, right? We got 2 games against him. So
Judon this week against the Falcons.
Yeah,
we'll talk about
exactly.
them here a little bit, man. He's a beast. Nick Bosa.
Yeah.
When we get to the 40.
So what I do know is that Andy Reid's an old offensive line coach, and he keeps faith, and you saw it last year with the whole team where he's able to take people that are struggling and keep their head in the right space so that he can get the best out of them. So is he going to be the best left tackle starting next week? No, but do I expect it to be like a massive problem for the whole season? I don't think so. I think you're going to see it progressively get better. And luckily, Patrick, he just turned 29 this week. Happy birthday, Patrick Mahomes. He's still mobile enough that, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be good enough to get him to where he can get the ball off or to where he can escape and make something happen with his feet. So,
yeah, unfortunately for me, the biggest concern is maybe not necessarily that it's going to be all season long or that they can't come, but that's like Patrick's blind side, right? I mean, that's why the left tackle.
It's a concerning
important. That's the one that's really the one spot on the line you don't want to be your weakest link is the left tackle spot. So I don't know. We'll see what they do with the rookie. I sent you guys I was at the game. I sent you guys a text message. I said, man, they got to get the rookie out of there. He's getting burned. And then literally, what was it? Like 5 seconds later, he's running to the sideline and the backup was coming in. Nick, you mentioned that he ended up getting a penalty, which no arguing there. He had to buy the guy's right and basically drug him to the ground by his face mask pretty much unnecessarily because the play kind of drifted away from his side at that point. But I don't know. They've got to figure out a way to get Patrick not only just more time, but keep him healthy, right? We don't want to see Patrick Mahomes hobbling around with another sprained ankle or turf toe or something week 6, and he has to deal with it all the way through the rest of the season, and lingering in the playoffs. Although we've seen him win the Super Bowl on one leg before. Not saying it can't be done, right? I don't want to have to see it. I don't want to have to try and see him do it twice. But yeah, overall, like I said, the run game looked good. The passing game looked good. They were moving the ball. This is going to sound crazy, but to me, I almost thought the defense played worse than the offense. Like they were not getting stops. It was almost like the old Bob Sutton, bend don't break, right? Like they were at least getting into field goal and kicking field goals on every possession nearly, right? The Cincinnati Bengals were not to say that the offense didn't put them in some tough spots, so that didn't help out, but they did not look to really stop the Bengals offense. They shut down Jamar Chase. Trent McDuffie had an awesome game against him, but there were plenty of other guys in the running game that were getting yards and they were moving the chains and putting points on the board with regularity. Nick, the defense, obviously they scored the touchdown and they got the big sack there at the end to give the Chiefs the ball back on 3rd down with another opportunity. What did you see out of the defense? Did you like the way they played? Did you think they struggled?
I think, yeah, I mean, look, there were some good performances. McDuffie against Jamar Chase was a win, right? I mean, he had, I think, 4 for 34, something like that. I mean, if you can hold Jamar Chase to 34 yards, like I would tell you that we're probably going to win the game. That said, there was a lot of struggles with the linebacking core, especially against tight ends. They were getting open, they were getting chunk plays, they were getting lots of yards. And yeah, I think that, if we want to talk about the offensive struggles, when your offense is struggling and they come off the field and it's, even if it's just for a field goal, but if there's a long drive and then they struggle and then there's another long drive, right? That field, like that time of possession, really keeps them from being able to find a rhythm and get in sync. And so, yeah, I mean, the defense held their own towards the end of the game. They came through in the 4th quarter, so I'm not going to knock them too much. They scored a touchdown, right? Like our offense got outscored by the Bengals offense. So when it really mattered, they clamped down and they made the plays that were able to put us in a position to win. But yeah, I would say that, they didn't force enough punts, especially, first half. They just did not force enough punts, and it just seemed like every time the Bengals got the ball, they were getting down into scoring position, either touchdown or field goal. So if I had to rate them overall, I would say, I would give them probably like a B minus. Not a terrible game, right? By any stretch of the imagination. They didn't give up 40 points, but at the same time, I just feel like they were giving up a lot of yards. So,
Bo, thoughts on the defense Sunday against the Bengals?
No, I really like what Nick said too. Just kind of going on his point there. It feels like we had this conversation a lot last year, talking about the defense giving up a lot of yards, but at the end of the day, they only gave up 25 points. And I feel like if you hold a team to 3 touchdowns or under 28 points with this team, you're doing good. I mean, was it the best performance we've ever seen? No, but I mean, I really liked it. Nick brought up the linebacking core. I think that's what the Bengals game plan for a lot. I mean, they obviously knew we were going to take out the receivers. We didn't know to the extent what Tyler Boyd's injury completely was. He was questionable, and then so I mean, I think we were just game planning for the receivers, which left that wide open hole for tight ends. No excuses really, but I mean, the fact that we shut down all the receivers and the running back and a quarterback like Joe Burrow can't get it to his main guys, I think that's a huge win for the defense. I really liked what the line did. I mean, we didn't see as big of a game from Chris Jones, but they had 2-3 guys on him the whole time, but opened up, Karlaftis, Chanel, Mike Dana, everybody else there. Shamari Connor had himself a hell of a game, sack, and the, fumble recovery for touchdown. All these stats, I don't know. I think that's what you want in a game. I know field goals isn't the greatest thing, but it's not touchdowns. And with a team like the Bengals, that's saying something. Ideally, yeah, you would want to stop them every time, but that's like saying you need a touchdown every drive, right? It's sometimes it's not in the cards when you're playing great teams. So I would give them a little bit higher grade, B plus. Not saying it's like their A game. They didn't bring their A game, but definitely kept us in that game. And as Nick pointed out, may have won it for us. So yeah, great job, D.
Yeah, I would like to have seen a few more punts, like Nick was saying, especially they're missing T. Higgins is out for that game. You shut Jamar Chase down, you got to be feeling, if you had told me before the game, T. Higgins isn't going to play and Jamar Chase is going to have like 12 yards, I would have liked our chances in that game. I would have told you, damn, Chiefs are going to roll and they're probably going to win this game 27-10 or 27-13 or something. Not the case. Obviously, again, the turnovers by the Chiefs put the defense in some tough spots, some short fields. Easy to get into field goal range when you're starting there around midfield, 40-yard line, 50-yard line. But, I would like to see him get a little bit more pressure on Joe Burrow, especially with the way the Patriots were able to hound him the week before. But they got pressure in there, and they got sacks.
3 sacks? 3 sacks?
Yeah, they got sacks at key points too, right? Like, how many times have you seen the Chiefs or teams just watching football? They'll get 2 or 3 or 4 sacks, but it's on first down and the other team overcomes, right? Chiefs were getting sacks on third down. They were getting it to kind of like kill drives, especially that one there at the end. It was like 3rd and 9, I want to say. And they get the sack. They also, Chris Jones flushed Joe Burrow out of the pocket with pressure on the fumble that Shamari Connor ended up returning for a touchdown. So,
Snacks.
My man JT, it's good to see him in the house. Hope you're doing well, man. Looks like his Panthers are having another tough year.
They just got a little bit better though.
Yeah,
Red Rockets.
Man, Bryce Young, I did not see this coming out of Bryce Young. I thought he was going to be good.
No way. I did not see that.
Maybe they go back to him. Maybe they rushed him. Maybe they went to him a little bit too early. Maybe let him sit for a little bit and kind of like collect his thoughts and get a break, and he can come back and regroup and get some of his confidence back. But good to see our man JT. Ash is in the house. Good to see you. I saw Maria and Big Doug in there. Appreciate it. The Chiefs defense did just enough to give the offense a chance there to stay and hang in the game and get the win. Scored a touchdown defense. You got to like that. That's almost like negating the turnovers by the offense, right? if you can get a defensive score, that's almost like canceling out 2 turnovers or something by the offense.
Sure.
But I'm not
Football
super.
math. Love it.
I'm not super worried about either the defense or the offense right now. 2-0, we'll take it. Might not be the 2 prettiest wins you've ever seen, but yeah, I still just that turnover. Like we all predicted on this show last week, Chiefs are going to win by what 10, 12, 13 points, I think. And they had a chance to do it there. Like I said, the defense got that 3 and out, and the offense had the ball back with a chance to get a lead there and then get the ball to start the second half and kind of get that back-to-back possession thing, and then the turnover and the Bengals get the ball and they score instead of us. And that, to me, that just swung the momentum away from the Chiefs right back to Cincinnati. And it was a game at that point, and it was game on. Let's talk a little bit about, we did the poll last week, and everybody that pretty much weighed in, it was like, I want to say 80 or 85% thought that the Ravens was going to be the tougher game and they were the better team. Out of the Ravens and the Bengals, which team, the teams that start 0-2 have a 5% chance of making the playoffs? It's more likely than not that one of those 2 teams isn't going to make it. Which team do you think's better? Which team do you see making the playoffs out of the Ravens and the Bengals? Looks like Bo just jumped out for a second. Be interested to see what the chat thinks. Nick, who makes it, Baltimore or Cincinnati? Or Bobby, you can pick both, I guess, too, if you want. Still, that'd be a stretch though. Starting 0-2.
Historically, look at it, you'd want to say Baltimore, right? Just because they typically just win a lot of games. So, but man, losing that game to Raiders, that's alarming. So I don't know. I would say if only one right now, I would say that I think the Bengals are on a better trajectory. The Bengals looked a lot better this week than they did last week, right? And the Ravens, I think, looked just as bad or worse than they did against us. And we talked about this. We feel like the score didn't really indicate how close that game actually was against the Ravens, even though there's the whole touchdown being with the toe. I mean, the Chiefs felt like they outplayed the Ravens, right? So I'd go back. I just but that's a tough thing to call. I mean, I want to feel like both of them are going to be there, because if you look around the AFC, like the South isn't very good, right? The West, maybe you get the Chargers. I don't think Minshew Mania is gonna propel the Raiders into the postseason this year. Do you? So you look at those wild cards, like now with the Dolphins. With Tua's situation, they're probably looking at maybe not making the postseason now. So I would say that they've still got a good shot at making the postseason.
Bo, Ravens or the Bengals or both? What do you see those 2 teams making the playoffs? One, the other, both?
Oh man. Well, the Bengals, historically, I'm sorry, I don't know what Nick said. My internet cut out right there, so
You're okay.
Apologize if I just start repeating.
I said a lot of bad shit about you, man.
Yeah. So I'm super dumb. I'm super ugly. Nick's super smart. That's from earlier. Anyway,
right.
No, the Bengals, historically, they start off like this, and Joe Burrow's always kind of hurt at the beginning of the year. They seem to get their shit together 3-4 games in, start turning it around, and they end up kind of making the postseason. I could see them doing that again this year. They played us tough, man. They looked like a great team. I'm not gonna lie. They got some real weird concerns going on their side with Jamar Chase's contract and injuries and just some personnel issues. So I could see them bouncing back and doing well. The Ravens, to me, though, that's fascinating. They don't look like the same team they were last year.
No.
I could see them taking a step back. How far back? I don't know. Do they miss the postseason? I don't think so. To Nick's point, you just look around the league. They're still better than a lot of teams, but I think they've regressed quite significantly. But if I had to pick one, I would say the Bengals would make the postseason. and the Ravens wouldn't if I had to pick one. But I could see both of them making it still, even though it's a slow start. What about you?
If I had to put money on one or the other, I'd put it on the Bengals. I picked the Bengals to win that division at the beginning of the year. I think Joe Burrow is a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson. I know Chase has got the contract situation going on, and I don't know what his mental state is like. He blew up and got a huge penalty that really, really hurt the team there in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
I don't know how much that is frustration with getting locked down by Trent McDuffie. I don't know how much of it is frustration with not getting his deal he thought he was going to have by now. Maybe a combination of the both, right?
50-50.
All of the above. But
Yeah.
If he can get his head right and they can get him sorted out, they get T. Higgins back. Their defense looks pretty solid. I mean, they struggled to slow the Chiefs down. The turnovers by the Chiefs. Really mistakes, or I think maybe the Bengals defense doesn't look quite as good as it did. But yeah, I'm going to pick the Bengals over the Ravens. The Ravens they were the 1 seed in the AFC last year and had home field advantage in the playoffs, and now they, to me, Derrick Henry looks old. It looks like he is maybe to the point where he is finally gonna start losing this fight with old father time. Finally, on offense, outside of Zay Flowers, who to me is not a wide receiver one, right? Who do they have to throw the ball to? Mark Andrews looks like maybe he is losing a step. I don't know how much of it is the injury to start the season, and he was hurt right in training camp and missed some time, so maybe he gets back into form as the season goes along here. But their defense does not look to be as stout as it once was. They've kind of lost some guys there. So if you're a Bengals fan, you got to be a little nervous right now with the way the season started and the way the offense is struggling. Kevin hit the nail right on the head too, man. When you're losing to the Raiders at home, that's bad news.
Yeah, JT brings up a good point here that Justin Tucker is showing some cracks too. So I heard a stat that 50-plus yard field goals to start the season. It's some insane number. I forget the total amount, but it's like, they're 25 of 27 across the NFL or something like that. And the 2 misses were both Justin Tucker's. Yeah. So
yeah, trust me, as someone who has him on his dynasty fantasy football league, I'm
well aware of how
my eyebrows are a little raised right now. But he's still automatic from under 50, but he's getting older, and 50 yards is a long ways. Yeah, Butker's the best kicker. I think right now you could say he's surpassed.
Yeah, we sniped him off the Panthers practice squad, I think.
Dude,
yeah.
How about the confidence in that kick, though, right? Not only in like him to just step up and make it, but the coaching staff to be like, yeah, we'll go for it. Kick it.
That's a 54-yarder. We don't really need any more yards. We're just going to run it up the middle.
We're in this range. Dude warms up from like 75, though, apparently. So, right, like 50? Yeah, dude. You're drilling
it out there for the 68-yarder. I was like, are they really going to do this?
I know, right?
I think they would have if there would have been a little less time in the half, right? It was, what was it? It was like
30 or 40 seconds
25
left,
or 30 seconds.
Yeah.
You just can't give the other team the ball in that field position with that amount of time left. But I think he could kick a 68-yarder. The 51-yarder, the game winner, was more than halfway up the upright when it went through. People say he kicks 65, 70-yarders in warm-ups and in practice. So, Butker is the man. I would still like to see the Chiefs try a little harder to get a few more yards.
I think we all
he's
would,
human.
Dude, but
the guy's a human being still. 54, 55-yarders for the guy. It's close to automatic as you can get for a 55 or 54-yard field goal, but they were able to pick up a few yards, right?
Sorry, it was a few years ago where we felt better about the 50s than we did the 30s, right?
The extra points, right, was his struggle there for a year or so early on.
The Butker fade or the Butker draw.
Right. He would sit there and nail 55-yarders all day long and then miss 2 extra points in the game. Let's talk about the referees and the penalties real quick. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I mean, everybody's in agreement that was pass interference. I saw some
Like
people,
everybody I've ever heard talk about it.
even legit people though online. Like, what's the guy's name that's on there with Rich Eisen that does the Monday morning podcast with him,
Like
Chris
his co-host?
Brockman, his co-host.
Yeah.
He said, "I didn't think that ball was catchable." Like, dude, watch the replay, man. It misses the top of his helmet by that much. Like,
It hits the other guy in the face.
right? I know. And he's like, "Oh, that ball wasn't catchable." I'm like, "Bro, what are you talking about? The ball wasn't catchable. Like, it went right over the top of his head and hit the defender behind him." I don't know. The idea that it was like, oh, the refs were trying to give the Chiefs the game, really, by calling a hands to the face penalty that was away from the play that they didn't have to call on the previous play where the Chiefs converted 4th and 6 and got a 41-yard play that would have put them in the field goal range. Oh, man, it was so funny watching people argue back and forth online about whether that was a penalty or not. No doubt it was a penalty, right?
No.
There was a pass interference earlier in the game against Rashee Rice that went uncalled that was even more blatant, I thought, than the one that they called at the end of the game that was right before the Carson Steele fumble. Maybe they call that. It's a little bit different.
How about Jamar
story.
Chase pulling down Trent McDuffie and getting PI on Trent McDuffie?
Right. Yeah, or that set up. Oh, was that a touchdown? Was that a touchdown drive for them?
It was, yeah.
Because that PI was like 40 yards or something like that.
Yeah, put him down at like the 10-yard line. I want to say put him at the 10 and 11. I just can't remember if they kicked a field goal or scored a touchdown.
No, that was that toe tap touchdown. Right.
In the corner of the end zone, was that the drive where he had the toe tap touchdown? So I thought the officiating was bad both ways. If anything, it more negatively affected the Chiefs outside of the one call at the end that kind of put them in field goal range on the 4th and long. I mean, am I wrong there, Nick? Chiefs got the more raw into the deal from the refs in that game than the Bengals did.
Yeah. Look, it's incredible that you can sit there and look at exactly what the rule says, that you're not allowed to do this specific thing, that specific thing happens, and then people say, I mean, look, I would maybe entertain the argument you don't see that called all the time at that point in the game. But that applies to the 4th and 6th hands to the face then, right? Like, so those
right.
those would like wipe each other out. Okay, cool. We don't call these things, right? At the end of the game, you let them play. You let them play, you let them play. Get the guy's hand out of your face if you want to get to the quarterback. But no, the textbook pass interference, and like, and it makes sense, right? Like, that's the thing is, so sometimes you read rules and you're like, okay, well, yeah, it's the rule says this, but I don't agree with the rule. No. Like, the reason they do that is because you've boxed out the defender and you've got position on him. Like, you've won at that point, right? And so for him to hit you in the back to try to get to the ball, like, it negates the fact that, either by scheme or by route or by how you did in your one-on-one matchup, like, you beat the guy. And so that's why that's the rule, that you can't play through his back because, like, you got boxed out, you lost. And so I don't think it's controversial at all. I'm happy that it's controversial with Bengals fans because, dude, like, I really do enjoy watching them just lose their minds. This is the second time in a Burrow game in a row that we've had this, right? Like, the out of bounds shove on Mahomes was not a controversial call. The guy is way out of bounds. And the guy puts a forearm into his back and knocks him to the ground. Like, maybe they should be sitting there and looking at the fact that they won the turnover battle. They had more yards. They won time of possession. And they're still in a position to lose at that point in the game and say, maybe our team, maybe they're just not as good as we think they are, right? Maybe they're not getting screwed by the refs. Maybe Joe Burrow fumbling the ball for a touchdown is what ended up really losing the game. Or the fact that we had the ball and all they had to do is really get a couple of first downs and they could have run out the clock, right? And instead they took a sack on 3rd down and ended up punting the ball back. So, no, it's not controversial. I mean, I just it's exactly what the rule is. And, like, it's a good rule. Like, you shouldn't be able to just say I'm playing the ball and just, like bulldoze somebody from behind. It's kind of ludicrous to say that it's a bad call. So
yeah, I think that Jamar Chase call was more controversial, or the supposed pass interference on him was more controversial than that, right? But going back to, like, it's funny how fans of the team who just lost to a play like that will sit there and cry foul and negate, as Nick pointed out, all the mistakes and blunders of the past 4 quarters. Like, they didn't just have, 2.5 hours of football that didn't make any difference, and it was just that one play. That always fascinates me hearing that online. But no, I mean, clear. I think, I don't know if you guys saw the Pat McAfee show this week. He put out a poll asking if it was a foul, right? He got 60, 70,000 responses back, and it was some ridiculous number, like 71, 72% of people like, yep, that was a penalty. I don't know what to say. Like, and then the other 20% was just like, I'm a Chiefs hater. It was still a foul though. So I mean, damn near everybody thinks that was the right call to make. The phrase, you can't make that call there, I just find that one so ridiculous. That doesn't make any sense either. Like, no, you're supposed to call the penalties when they happen. Like, sometimes he doesn't see them all game, but if he sees them, that's when they do happen. It is funny what a ref chooses to see and what they don't choose to see, especially after, oh man, our week 1, that guy still can't get over the illegal formations that the Ravens had to go through. And I was just thinking, like, oh my God, we're gonna get screwed here, and the refs didn't see our illegal formations. So
there weren't nearly as many of those this week, huh?
No. Right. Yeah, I didn't hear about one this week, but nature of the game, man. I mean, play better football. I don't know what to tell them.
Look, if it's a penalty in the first minute of the game, it's a penalty in the last minute of the game. There's no rule, or there's no asterisk in the rule book that says all of these are penalties except for the last 2 minutes of the game, and it's not a penalty. Like, come on, give me a break. That's a joke. So,
but
Chiefs
and to say that is managing it as an entertainment product as opposed to like a legitimate game, right? But it's being pushed forward by people that act like they want it to be like about the teams and in the game. But I mean, if you're saying, oh, and also we're just going to disregard the fact that people get pushed down right at the end of the game, but it just doesn't, like, the rules are the rules. It's not like you're playing chess and it's like, oh well, towards the end of the chess match, like your rook can also now go diagonally sometimes. I mean, that's the rules are how they are. So, yeah.
Before we kind of talk about this Falcons game, JT's got a question here about who do we fear maybe the most, or who do we think is the biggest competition in the AFC at the moment?
Appreciate it.
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. When do you guys want to take it first, or I mean, I can go here.
No, yeah, sure. I'll start off. I guess.
I'm looking at the teams that I've seen, and man, sure, CJ Stroud sure has some of that like first couple of years of Mahomes look to him, which is kind of scary when you see he's able to really like have escapability and improvise, be running and throw the ball down the field with accuracy. So I mean, I think out of all the teams that I've seen, the Texans are one that's catching my eye right now as far as main competition.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell. The Bills have looked good, but they're like Nick mentioned in a text thread between the three of us the other day. They're the September champions every year, so I'm gonna hold off judgment on them until a little bit later in the season. Maybe the team we just played that took us to the wire at home, but again, self-inflicted wounds by the Chiefs really, I feel, made that game closer than it needed to be. The Chargers right now are 2-0 as well, with two pretty, I don't know if I want to say impressive wins because of the teams they beat, but pretty simple wins, right? They won easily. Now the competition they played wasn't that great. So, and Justin Herbert's dealing with injuries right now. So, I don't want to steal Nick's answer here and say the Texans, but I think right now they probably look like the most complete team that's played as well or as close as well as the Chiefs have right now. They're 2-0 as well, right? Their record, they beat the Colts, they were in a little bit of a dogfight with the Bears there for a little bit. So I'm going to go Bengals. I think if they get T. Higgins back and the way they can rush the passer with Hendrickson you got to figure Jamar Chase is going to be Jamar Chase at some point. And they always play us tough. I'm not buying the Steelers at 2-0 at the top of that division. So I'll go with the team we just played, maybe being the biggest competition. Bo?
Yeah, I'd probably have to say like the Bills. You kind of brought them up a little bit. As much as I hate to give them credit, I have to give them credit where it's due. I mean, it looks like not having Diggs isn't going to be as big of a gap for them as I was anticipating. We'll just see how long that planned quarterback run lasts for Josh Allen in this league, right? We haven't seen that go too far so far. So, but I would have to give it to him. They look the most complete, the most dangerous as far as both sides of the ball. They have a great defense, all around offense. So I would go with the Bills on AFC. Was he also asking NFC too, or is he just saying the Saints look strong?
He was saying he was saying the Saints look tough in the NFC. Yeah, the thing I will say about the Bills is they were in a dogfight and had to come from behind to beat the Cardinals week 1, and then they beat
the Cardinals
a Dolphins.
Kind of look like a different animal.
They beat a Dolphins team that lost Tua and also couldn't beat a team with a winning record last year. So I don't know how their competition has not been strong, like the Chiefs, right? The Ravens and the Bengals, although those two teams are on 2. So that's a bad argument to make. Chiefs have a lot to do with those teams.
Von Miller can make it through the season, right? I mean, he's having a resurgence, but it's easy when, first couple of games versus the last couple. So
yeah,
NFC, it's cold out.
NFC, the Saints are the next Chiefs' next home game Monday night here in 3 weeks. So I think might be at that game. I don't know what to think of Derek.
Stretch for us looks like it got a little bit tougher so
far,
right?
I don't know what to think about the Saints though. I mean, plug your ears, JT. But I mean, they beat the Panthers week 1, and then took advantage of a fraudulent Cowboys defense that got exposed at the end of last year, going into the playoffs and then the playoffs against Green Bay. So I'm not gonna say, oh, Derek Carr's finally gonna. Derek Carr's finally in year 10 or whatever it is gonna like deliver and be the quarterback everybody kind of thought he was going to be when he got drafted high by the Raiders a few years ago. Some surprising teams in the NFC. I mean, the 49ers, I know they don't have Christian McCaffrey, but they just lost to the Sam Darnold Vikings.
Vikings are 2-0 for the first
Vikings,
time in 7 years.
Who saw that coming? Kirk Cousins
Vikings
leaves.
Are surprising too at 2-0, right?
Yeah. I don't know if you're on behind us a little bit or not, but we were just talking about the Vikings being 2-0, and I'm not sure who their wins have come against other than the Niners, right? They won week 1. Who did they beat? Green Bay?
Oh, who was it? No.
Can't think of who they beat, but I don't know. I still got to think the 49ers, once they get Christian McCaffrey back, right, got to be a top team in that NFC, but Buccaneers looking a little tough.
Bucks look like they know how to play football all of a sudden, right? Baker Mayfield's look like he might
Baker Mayfield
looking up there.
Looking like maybe the Browns could have saved some money on that Deshaun Watson contract and just kept Baker Mayfield and gave him some good defense and some solid wide receivers. So maybe they moved on a little bit too soon there, but speaking of NFC, the Chiefs played the Atlanta Falcons. First game on the road for the Chiefs this season. Mercedes-Benz Stadium, prime time, Sunday Night Football. What do we think of this Falcons team? They did not look good in a loss week 1 to the Steelers. You can always kind of like crumble up week 1 and throw it in the trash basket, right? There's always weird outcomes and teams that are good and end up being good, don't look good week 1. There's teams that aren't good that surprise you and get a shocking kind of upset win in week 1. It's the weirdest week of the season every year. But that Steelers team, I'm not sold on their 2-0 record. I think they fade. Justin Fields to me is not the answer there, and Russell Wilson coming back from injury is not going to be much better. I think the Bengals recover here like they always do. They always start 0-2. And end up winning that division when they can stay healthy. Nick, Falcons, how comfortable, how good do you feel about this game? Are you worried at all?
Well, I mean, I think they're probably better than I thought they were going to be. but I still think that, you're looking at Kirk Cousins being in his mid-30s, coming off of an Achilles injury. He's not going to be super mobile. So if we can get our pass rush there, I'm feeling like we're going to be able to get him off of his spot. They got a little bit of luck going their way, some Chiefs-esque luck with Saquon Barkley dropping that pass, right? And allowed them really to be able to go down and win that game in the final moments. But they still went down and got the points when they needed it, right? So so you can't take that away. Cousins is a good quarterback. But yeah, I mean, I think if you had to say Ravens, Bengals, Falcons, even knowing what we know now, I still feel like there's a drop off in quality of opponent going to the Falcons. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Bo, what do you think of the Falcons?
Oh yeah, I agree that it's like you just said, it's not what I thought it was going to be. It looks like it's going to be a little tougher, but yeah, a clear drop off as far as overall team ability with the Falcons versus the last two teams we played. I don't know what to think of the Falcons. This Monday night game was weird. It looked like they were terrible, but then came back for a win. But it was one of those things I can't tell if the Eagles are coming down right as the Falcons are kind of coming up. So like right as they cross, they happen to look a little bit better than they actually are, kind of thing. That last drive was weird. The Eagles just played prevent defense and let them take 8-9 yard passing plays at will the whole way down the field. And you're like, well, that's not, you got to change something up, fellas. But I mean, yeah, I don't know what to really make of them. I still am doubting Kirk Cousins' ability to move and his agility, having come off said Achilles injury. We kind of saw that on Monday. He was really just sitting there in the pocket. The times he did have to scramble, doesn't look fast, doesn't look too mobile. So I think that's going to be really key for us. Get in his face, get him a little nervous, get him rattled, and that should be a game changer for us as far as messing his game plan up. But they've got some tight ends, and as we saw this last game, that was kind of like our weak link on defense as far as the passing game goes. So I think they do know that. Everybody's taking notes of what works and what doesn't work against us right now. So I'm sure they're well aware of that, and they're game planning for their tight ends. Let's see if we can adjust. And then they got old Bijan Robinson, the old Bijan Mustard. He's one hell of a running back, man. I think he had 100 and something yards this past game, right? Like 70 in the second half alone. Dude can run on you, and he can make people pay. He's really good at eluding tackles, making that first man miss, which, I mean, we can get ourselves in position, but, man, that's a big ask getting that first guy to tackle that guy. So they stack up, but, dude, it's no Ravens. Like we're not going to have to spy a QB run on us for 40 yards. It's not Joe Burrow. We're not have to worry about a precision dart 40, 50 yards down the field. I think, yeah, just stick to our game plan and get in Kirk's face, and it should work.
Yeah, the Chiefs are they're the better team. And, I mean, there's no, like, breaking news there, right? But they've got some weapons. Kyle Pitts has not produced anywhere near what people thought he was going to be at the tight end position when he was drafted. Bijan Robinson can be dangerous. Drake London is a guy who I feel is one of the better wide receivers. He's not that top tier, but he's maybe in that second tier down. You throw Trent McDuffie on him, though, and I think he can handle that job there. So I don't know. It's on the road. Every time I think of Kirk Cousins, I think of our guy Nick Court from Shank Club, and one of the greatest names for a NFL player of all time, the Chocotron 5000. The guy is terrible in primetime games. His record and his stats and his touchdown to interception ratio and the way he plays in primetime games is atrocious. So, look, I'm expecting the Chiefs. I'm really not that worried about this game. I'm confident the Chiefs are going to go in there and win. Now, you go in there and do what you did against the Bengals this week, and you turn the ball over 3 times, and you get stuffed and
pretty quick
kick a field goal from the 1 yard line. I guess that's always possible with Chiefs. Penalties can always hurt us, even though the narratives the referees are in the Chiefs' pockets. and they're on the Chiefs' payroll, and the league wants the Chiefs to win all these games. We get the raw end of the deal more often than we get the beneficial 50-50 call. There's those stats out there that people have been looking up here recently that the Chiefs have lost the most yards on penalties in the last 3 seasons of any NFL team. So they could always hurt themselves with a goofy play call or turnovers or a penalty at the exact wrong time. But I feel really good. I think the key to them is don't let Bijan Robinson go crazy on you and have some game where he has 170 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to be doing okay. Falcons defense is all right, but we saw the Chiefs again outside of the turnovers against the Bengals, and then in the game against the Ravens, the Chiefs moved the ball, and we're getting first downs, and we've seen the deep play. I know it was on kind of a busted coverage, but Xavier Worthy had the long touchdown week 1. Then Rashee Rice had the bomb touchdown week 2. Chiefs are airing it out. I think we expected a little bit more of that deep passing game before Hollywood Brown was lost for the season. I don't know. You guys want to do score predictions? I don't know how much time we want to spend breaking down the Falcons, right?
No, yeah. What do you think the score is going to be? You think we're going to break away and finally catch a hot streak on offense here, score some points, or you think it's going to be another close one?
I think it's 31-21, somewhere in there, 31-20. I think the Chiefs win by about 10. So I'm going to go 31-20. Nick, what's your score prediction? Everybody in the chat, make sure you throw your score prediction up here too. Get on the record here. Nick?
Oh, I'm going to go 10 points. I'm going to go 27-17. I think we're now missing. I mean, I know that Hollywood Brown never actually played, right? But
yeah,
he was a factor all going into the season that we've lost. We lose Pacheco, right? I think that you're not going to be seeing this maybe a super dynamic offense. Maybe I'm wrong. But I don't know if you want to do players of the game too, but I'm going to say that I think Carson Steele is going to impress some people this week. I think he's going to have a good game. So I'm rooting for him.
Yeah, I hope you're right. He's got to hang on to the ball. Can't fumble, especially when you're a rookie, man. Isaiah Pacheco being out, I mean, it definitely hurts the Chiefs. Isaiah Pacheco had a great game against the Bengals. Looks like he's improved in the pass catching aspect of his game a little bit this year. But he's not a guy that goes out there and consistently gives you 120, 130 yards, consistently rips off big runs and big chunk plays. So I think the Chiefs can do patchwork with the guys, and we'll talk about Kareem Hunt here in a second after we finish up our score predictions. But, I think it's about 10 points. So Nick's going 10. I think I got 11-point victory. Looks like some people are throwing their predictions up in the chat. Big Doug, 35-21. I like 14-point win there. Big Doug with a big score prediction. Bo, what's the final score going to be?
Yeah, man, I'm thinking we're gonna have to deviate a little bit away from our running game. I hope Nick's right. I hope Carson Steele comes in and fills those shoes perfectly. But I could see us getting a little bit more aerial, going to all of our fancy weapons. Look for a lot of Rice, a lot of Watson. I'm ready for TMFK to have himself a game, right?
Yeah,
so
we haven't talked about that.
But everything's set up for all these pass catchers to have themselves a game. So I'm gonna go 27-20. Give them 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals, and let's see our defense get some punts.
Bo's going 20 to that was the score in the Ravens game, wasn't it? 27-20. So Bo's going with a 7-point win.
Maybe.
I'm going over 30. Man, John V is in the chat.
John?
I mean, we're 2-0, John. We're going to be fine. You guys just lost to Sam Darnold and the Vikings, bro. Like, I don't.
He's just going to twist that knife, John.
He's just all him.
Brock Purdy did.
I'll go get the Niners tears.
Brock Purdy did not look good in that game against the Vikings. Everybody can have an off day, so they get Christian McCaffrey back. I didn't even know Christian McCaffrey was hurt. Did you guys know that? like going into
No.
week 1?
I didn't either.
It was just all of a sudden I saw was checking fantasy lineups or whatever, and I saw it like got an alert like he was out 30 minutes before the first game starts. So like, now they're saying you can miss multiple weeks.
Well,
That's
and there was you heard about the controversy about that, right?
I'm sorry,
Scotty? You heard the controversy about that, right?
no, I did not.
So the guy that replaced him, they were interviewing him like post game on the field, and he was like, "Yeah, no, when they let me know Friday that I was going to be the starter, and then like in the post game they're asking him because they didn't announce it until 30 minutes before he was listed as questionable or whatever.
Whoops.
So the guy kind of let it slip, and so then Christian McCaffrey.
That's what happens when you lie, right? Sometimes you get caught
on IR. So right, so
yeah. Sometimes when you lie, you get caught.
Bit of game
there.
Keep all your facts straight.
Right.
As an old boss of mine once said, I'm okay with trickery as long as it works. So
yeah, and Travis Kelce, look, I know he said before the season started that he didn't want to be saved and he didn't want to, that he didn't need to be like spared for the later part of the year in the postseason and on a pitch count. But I got to feel like that's kind of what's going on. And I feel like other teams, especially with Hollywood Brown being out, Xavier Worthy has flashed and made some nice plays, but he's not exactly beating people down the field either, right? Getting open downfield. The 2 touchdowns he had week 1 was on one of those jet sweep like plays, and the other one was on a broken, busted coverage. So he's a rookie, and it takes rookies time to adapt to the NFL. But I'd like to be seeing him get some separation, be catching some passes more down the field than he has. But the Pacheco injury leads to the Chiefs bringing back an old fan favorite in Chiefs Kingdom, Kareem Hunt.
I have his jersey somewhere. Not here with me. But...
I've got his jersey too upstairs in my closet. Kareem Hunt is back on the Chiefs. What, aside from, we all know what happened to him in the situation that got him kicked off the team 4 or 5 years ago. What is Kareem Hunt bringing to the Chiefs at this point in his career? Bo, he's 29 years old, so he's still in that tail end of his prime years for a running back. He was the backup in Cleveland, right? And he missed a good chunk of that season when he got kicked off the Chiefs and didn't really play. So he has a few less miles on him than your average 29-year-old running back in the NFL would have. But he also was sitting at home when the Chiefs called and was available.
It's saying something, right?
What percentage of prime 2018 Kareem Hunt are the Chiefs getting here? Is he at 50%? Is he at 75%? Is he 80? Is he 10? What do you think?
Well, we're definitely not getting that guy, right? We're not getting 2018.
No, not 100%.
That's a great question. How much has he deteriorated? It's hard to tell, man. His role in Cleveland was an interesting one. He did it well, dude. He just shut up, kept his head down, didn't make a lot of noise, whether it was on the sideline, social media, what have you. He was okay with the number 2 role behind Chubb there, and did well, man. I mean, he filled that handcuff role really well. They had a great 1-2 punch with him. But to your point, he just wasn't that number 1 guy, and he was sitting at home getting the call. I would say for what we need him for, I would say he's going to be like 70% of the old Kareem Hunt, right? He's going to be that solid guy who's sure-handed, who's still powerful and fast enough between the 2 tackles to get up in between the line. He's probably still fast enough to run a lot of the sweeps and the quick outs that we like to do. A catching running back is always a plus, in my opinion. People say he knows the system, but it's been so long, I don't think he knows the system. He hasn't been a part of this system in a minute, and I can only imagine how much has changed since he's been here. So, I mean, I imagine there's going to be a learning curve for him to undergo this week, but I wouldn't be too surprised if we see him elevated from the practice squad to actually playing on Sunday, just because we need him. We're not too deep at that position for game time. We have Deneric Prince and Carson Steele. It's kind of about it. CEH is on IR, if I recall correctly, or the PUP list, one of the two for whatever he's going through, coming back week 4 or 5. So not a very deep position. So I understand why we're bringing him back, and I think it's a good solid choice to do in the sense that he's a good running back. Like he has all the stats to back it up, and not, like I said, sure-handed, fast, powerful. I like it. I like it. Nick, what do you think? Do you think we're getting the old Kareem Hunt, or do you think we're getting a fallen off version? Scott asked me, what percentage of Kareem Hunt do you think we're getting from the 2018 version of him?
I think we're getting old Kareem Hunt. I don't think we're getting the old Kareem Hunt.
Touche.
Yeah, but I think he had 8 or 9 touchdowns last year. So sorry guys, I think I need to old yeller my laptop. It like freaked out, and then when I came back in, now my shit's all zoomed in. But yeah, I think, look, if he can be a solution for us at the goal line, like I'm all in for bringing him back. I mean, you know, I know the optics and all that stuff that happened were definitely bad, and he acted in a way that he shouldn't act. But at the same time, like, part of me is like, but he just got signed by another team, you know? Yeah. So, like, he just got signed by another team, so it's not like they really prevented him from being in the NFL. So, I mean, I don't have a big issue with the Chiefs bringing him back. I just wonder how much he's got left in the tank, and if he can be like a good relief guy, and we can bring along Carson Steele while we have Kareem Hunt, that, you know, and he can carry some of the load, maybe help with some of these pass protection downs and stuff, then I'm good with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're probably getting 65-70% of like 2018 Kareem Hunt leading the NFL in rushing. The dude has always had a nose for the end zone. Bo, you mentioned how many of the touchdowns he scored last year. The guy knows how to get into the end zone and score touchdowns. So I think the guy comes in, you know, Matt Nagy was here when he was here, right? He's familiar with the system. Kareem Hunt, I've seen running backs like sidestep and juke defenders, and I've seen them hurdle defenders, and I've seen them lower the shoulder and run defenders over, and I've seen them drag guys for 4, 5, 8, 10 yards.
Right.
But yeah, I've never seen a player do it all in one play like Kareem Hunt did that one time. I want to say it was against the Bengals too, man. Like,
I know what you were thinking of when you started
the dude literally juked a guy and hurdled a guy and plowed over a guy and drugged 3 or 4 guys for like 5 or 10 yards on one run. Maybe the greatest run I've ever seen by a Chiefs running back, at least that I can remember. I know Jamal Charles had some amazing runs where he just squirted through the line and was gone for a long touchdown, but just like the power and the elusiveness and the strength and just the angry nastiness of the way that dude would play when he was first with the Chiefs, and even his first couple of years as a backup in Cleveland. If you played fantasy football, that dude was a backup. He still was a good flex option, man. Like, the guy got yards and caught passes and scored touchdowns. So I think even if you only get 65 or 70% of that guy, that's still pretty damn good. He got signed to the practice squad. The Chiefs signed Keontae Ingram to the active roster, who spent some time with the Cardinals. He was actually on the Chiefs last year, I want to say. Towards the end of the year, was on the Chiefs in a game or two. Towards the end of the year, didn't really get much action. I think maybe had 1 or 2 carries. Samaje Perine, I think he has the third down back role solidified. Pass blocking and obvious passing downs, third down. The guy can also catch the ball out of the backfield. He had 500 or 600 yards receiving with the Broncos last year. We've seen him do it a couple of times this year, where he catches the ball out of the backfield and can get some yards, make positive plays. If Kareem Hunt gets onto the active roster here in a week or so, Carson Steele's there. He's a rookie. Which one of those guys is the RB1 between Steele and Hunt once Hunt gets up to speed and gets back on the roster? Bo?
Man, that's hard to say. I would have to say Hunt just from the experience. I know Steele has earned his spot. He was the training camp sensation. Um, did have that fumble. I mean, rookie's gonna fumble. We can give it what it is, but that's yeah. I would probably say Hunt just for experience alone, right? Sure-handedness, big explosive dude, fast. Yeah, I would put it in his hands. But dude, I feel like 50-50 on this because Carson Steele has also proven to be a hoss too. He's one of those guys that, he makes contact a yard or two after he gets the ball, but then he gets 3 or 4 more yards regardless of how many guys are on him. And I really dig that. And I just, I haven't watched Kareem play the past 2 years enough to know if he still has that in him or not. So just experience-wise, probably Kareem though.
Nick, who's
Well,
RB1?
I'm hoping for another Kareem Hunt-like story because Kareem Hunt, I think, fumbled on his very first carry for the Chiefs, and then he never fumbled again.
No, it's insane. He has like 5 fumbles career on something like 500 carries or some fucking ridiculous number or whatever it was.
Yeah, so I'm hoping for that trajectory for Steele, and but I think he'll be the starter. I mean, I just think that he's just got the young legs, and being a running back, I think it's a young man's game, man. I just feel like they're gonna let him get in there and beat up his body, right? Kareem Hunt's already taken the damage, but I mean, I don't know, could be wrong. If he fumbles again, right, this week, then he's probably not gonna be a starter. So
depends on the role. I think too. Like if they're trying to come out and run it this week, I'm gonna have to go with Nick. But if they're gonna try to come out and pass it, I would have to go Kareem Hunt in the sense that I feel like he's just has more experience pass blocking, right? And like we saw how fragile our line can be, and letting pressure get to Patrick. Right. So I could imagine just having him back there, if anything, just to help out the rookie on the left side there.
Yeah, I think Kareem Hunt, even though he's older, right now, I think he has more. He has more in his arsenal. Carson Steele is a guy who's a power runner, and I know people are saying he's more of a fullback than a running back. I just don't know his like pass catching ability, and I don't know his like speed, his breakaway right in the open field. I know the guy can drag people. He's stiff-armed. He had the nice long run against the Bears where he kind of broke free there and stiff-armed the guy to the ground. But that was against backups, so I don't know that he really gives you that like explosive big play ability or the ability to necessarily catch the ball out of the backfield like Kareem Hunt does. But where he lacks that, he's also got the youth, right, that Kareem Hunt doesn't have. So I don't know. It's a stopgap until Isaiah Pacheco gets back. His surgery was successful today. No setbacks. Said a minimum of 4 weeks, probably 6 weeks. So I think he's looking at a 5 to 6 week stretch here where he's going to be out. So they just got to do enough and patch it together. I think you probably see a committee out of there. But I think once Kareem Hunt gets, in all accounts and everything, two people are saying he's in shape. He's been working out. He's staying ready for another chance. So I think physically he's ready to go, which should bode well for him getting on the Chiefs, the active roster there and getting in a game. So it's going to be wild seeing Kareem Hunt take a handoff and catch a pass from Patrick Mahomes, man. Like, it's going to be flashback. We put a post out on X. If you're not following us on social media, you can follow us on X and Facebook and Instagram at Chiefs Kingdom Live. I said, man, let's just get the cheetah and let's go get the shark, bro. Let's get the band back together.
Get the band back together. Let's do this.
Let's go, man. Let's do it. Like fuck it. Let's go get everybody back, man. We're gonna get back there and maybe, I don't know, Sammy Watkins, is he out there? Is he available somewhere, man? We could get 2018 Chiefs reunion tour going on here,
dude,
man.
Tyreek posted something about that move, right? He's like talking about Kareem joining the team, and like the whole comment section is just like, come back. It's just everybody doing like the Rick James meme and GIF and everything. Oh, it's so funny.
I mean, I don't think the Chiefs could afford to bring Tyreek Hill back. Obviously, the post was in jest and was having some fun with it. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe the Dolphins, man. Maybe they want to trade him back. I don't know. Hey, man, we got Carson Wentz in here. Carson Wentz in the second-round pick.
Tyreek's
I
like
don't know,
looking at his
man.
quarterback like, I don't know, this guy's gonna make it the whole year. Let's
Yeah.
I don't think you would ever get him to
Too
admit
soon.
this. Maybe you would, because Tyreek kind of is an open book in some sense, but he's also, I think, kind of like a prideful guy. I'm not saying that in a bad way, but I don't know that he'd ever admit this. But he's got to be kicking himself and regretting leaving the Chiefs, man, and going to the Dolphins, right? I don't.
Could have made like $27 million a year to be with KC.
Right, could have made 20, and maybe the Chiefs don't win the Super Bowl because there's how many things go differently. If you don't get Trent McDuffie, you don't get this guy. Maybe he doesn't make this play or this guy. So it's hard to say. Like, oh, if Tyreek Hill was on the team, everything would have gone exactly the way it went the last 2 years without him. But he's got to be sitting there thinking, "Man, I fucked up. Like I should have stayed there." Watching those guys celebrate back to back and going for the three-peat and being 2-0, and he's on the Dolphins and he's got Skylar Thompson throwing the ball to him now. Tua. That's a bad situation there with that guy and all the concussions now. I don't want to get into speculation or saying, oh, what should Tua do? That's none of our business. That's his choice to make. It's his health and his livelihood. But, Tyreek missing the Chiefs. Yeah, our man Kevin, he's in the chat. He's agreeing. I'm not sure who Go KC Forever is, but
MVS,
man,
Scott's
that might
favorite
get you blocked on this show. Man, we might put you in the penalty box like they used to do Nico on the locker room rant, man. That might get you in timeout bringing up MVS. So, is he still on the Bills? Did he make the team? I haven't even seen. I haven't paid any attention to. Is he on there?
He had a pretty good catch last week.
Did he?
That catch.
Yeah, there was reports he might not make the team in the off season. So,
yeah.
Kareem Hunt. Back with the Chiefs. That's one of the more bizarre headline stories. Chiefs Kingdom here the last few years. Get the Shark back too, man. Let's get Frank Clark. Bring him back. Let's get everybody back up in here.
Man, do you think the Chiefs make any more moves? Like with Hollywood Brown looking like he's not going to be able to play this year at all?
Yeah,
man. You think we're going to make a move for another receiver too? Or do you think because of this kind of emergency trade, that's that, and we're going to have to go with what we got?
I just don't know what's out there at wide receiver. I mean, I maybe if you get closer to the trade deadline and someone's willing to move like a top guy.
Desperate, right?
I think it's going to really depend on what happens with Xavier Worthy. Can he ramp up the learning curve?
That's fair.
And can he beat coverage? I want to see him getting open down the field and catching the ball. The jet sweeps and the runs and the busted coverage against the Ravens was nice. I know he had some flashes where he was getting open in the preseason and catching some balls down the field, but I haven't seen him open 25, 30 yards downfield beating guys yet. And not to say that can't happen. Maybe it has happened and Patrick missed it. I'm not someone who sits there and watches the all-22 film and is an analyst, right? And knows all about the play design and what's NFL open and what isn't NFL open. But John V, not a fan of Skylar Thompson, the Independence, Missouri native, man, Fort Osage High School. Come on, John V. Kansas City area guy. He could jump in there and take over for Brock Purdy in that system. I'd like to see what he does with the 49ers.
Brock Purdy
had to go there.
I'd like to see what Skylar Thompson could do in the 49ers. I mean, Jimmy G took that team to a Super Bowl too, and John V hated that guy's guts, and he was terrible, and he sucked. So it was the worst quarterback ever to play for the San Francisco 49ers, according to our man, John V.
What's that, you're down?
I don't know. What else is there? What do you guys want to talk about? Is there anything NFL news going on that we haven't got to? Anybody in the chat got anything you want to talk about before we get out of here?
I'm just going to bring up, so go KC or go for KC forever here. Said, I remember that New England on open, like, dude,
oh, yeah.
That Kareem Hunt performance, I think, will live in every Chiefs fan's memory.
That was their banner night. That was their banner night on the 28-3 comeback against the Falcons, coincidentally, the Chiefs' opponent this week, in the Super Bowl, and Matt Ryan, right? And they had all the pageantry, and then the Chiefs just came out there and whooped the Patriots' ass. Thursday night game. Alex Smith was the quarterback still for the Chiefs at that point. Patrick Mahomes hadn't even taken the reins yet. So, yeah, that's a good trip down memory lane there.
Oh man, just something I thought of. The last time we played the Falcons, I think Eric Berry had a pick 6 and a
pick two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last time we played the Falcons,
didn't he?
Right, in the same game. Yeah.
Is that the last time we played the Falcons?
2020?
Well, it's the last time we played in Atlanta.
Or in Atlanta. Yeah.
It was 2015. I remember where I was at when I watched that game, and I'm not going to say it live on the show here, but it was definitely 2015.
Not 2020? COVID was a weird year.
Pretty sure that was 2015.
Oh, you're talking about the...
All right.
Yeah. All right, yeah.
The game in Atlanta, Eric Berry had the pick 2 on the 2-point conversion. Basically won the game for the Chiefs.
Well, then that wasn't the last time we played. I take that back.
Maybe it was 2016. It could have been 16.
Yeah, no, I mean, we play them every 4 years, right? So
yeah, but it rotates back and forth from
from
one state to the next. So it's gonna be a fun game. Chiefs Sunday night football, late night game, gives you the whole day. Dude, I don't like the 325 games, man. That shit takes, especially when you go to the game. I'm not complaining because I had a great time and had some good company for the game there. But man, those 325 games that's your whole day, especially when you're going to the game. That's all day and all night is going to the game and being at the game and then trying to get out of the parking lot and get home after the game. So the Chiefs are 2-0 to start the quest for football immortality, the first ever three-peat. I want to say I was at that game too, where he was dunking the ball over the goal line. I'm pretty sure I was at that game as well. And Tony G, that guy could have kept playing. Like I was listening, he was on, I want to say it was The Drive the other night. And he was talking about his last season there in Atlanta, and he was talking about how he's talking to Travis Kelce, and Travis Kelce's asking what he did to stay in that good of shape and add maybe a few extra years onto his career. I feel like, am I the only one that feels like Tony Gonzalez still had plenty left in the tank when he retired from Atlanta?
He wasn't washed up when he
No,
chose to retire.
Not at all. Right? Yeah.
He wasn't like, oh, nobody's gonna let me play.
No.
I had that same thought watching him pregame interview on the field. I can't remember. It was like one of the Fox podcasts. Just thinking, dude, that guy looks like he could go out and play right now.
Right. He might be able to. I don't know. You probably go out there and box somebody out and post up and make a catch or two. But, yeah, that guy, man.
The TB12 method stuff, before Tom Brady even. I remember him talking about, the
way
that he took care of himself. So good for
him.
him.
No, he was very regimented and very creature of habit. He got into this crazy thing where he did the exact same thing every day in the same workout, and went to bed the exact same time, woke up the exact same time, ate the exact same thing, breakfast, lunch, dinner, did his workouts the exact same. I mean, he was very, very disciplined. And it paid well for him to be able to be as productive as he was at his age. I want to say he retired at 36 or 37 years old. And, man, I think that guy could have played till he was 40. So, I know he got sideways with Chiefs Kingdom.
Really happy for him. I mean, he got to go to Atlanta, and that's really what made his career. So
right, yeah. He got a little sideways with Chiefs Kingdom with his comments. He was pandering a little bit. It still irritates me to this day a little bit. But, yeah, Tony G, one of the all-time greats. This dude's all-decade NFL, all 2000s team, man. One of the
his catch record for tight ends will never be broken, I don't think.
And it's going to be tough. I mean, he's right up there with, Jerry Rice, and Larry Fitzgerald for numbers of catches and whatever. But yeah, it's going to be a fun game. Chiefs, Falcons. I don't know. I think it's cool to play these NFC teams you don't play all the time, right? We were talking about last week. Felt like this has been round 8 with the Bengals last 3 or 4 years. Seems like we play them at least once, if not twice, every year the last 4 or 5 years. Bills, feels like we play them 2 times every year at least. So I get a fresh opponent and some new scenery on prime time in Atlanta against the Atlanta Falcons. Chiefs trying to go to 3-0 on the quest for the three-peat here. The Chargers are catching my attention, and they're right up there at the top of the AFC West with the Chiefs at 2-0. So Chiefs, they got to keep the pedal to the metal here, and this is a game that they need to win. This is, I'm not going to say must win, but this is a game they should win, and they need to go down there and win. We'll definitely be back next week to talk about it. Appreciate everybody who was in the chat. I know we saw Brian and Kevin and Laney and Big Doug and John V. Maria was up in there. Go KC was in there. Our man Sam showed up for a little bit. Really appreciate everybody watching. Make sure if you haven't already, click like, click subscribe. Chiefs Falcons Sunday Night Football in Atlanta, Georgia. We'll be here next week to talk about it. Until then, let's go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs.